Welcome to the Sleep Sense Show. As always, brought to you by the Sleep Sense program, where podcast listeners can get a free customized sleep plan by going to www.sleepsense.net/listen.
Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to the show. One of my favorite quotes, and I might be misquoting it slightly, is, "There never was a child so lovely that his mother wasn't happy to see him asleep." Something like that. And I totally agree. I'm sure you agree. I mean, my children were the loveliest of the lovely, but I certainly did enjoy when they were asleep. And so I often get asked the question, should I wake my sleeping baby? Is there ever a time when I should wake this sleeping baby? And my short answer is no. But I want to give you a few reasons why and then a few exceptions to that rule. Especially if you've worked really, really hard to get this little person asleep, the last thing you want to do is wake them. I get it. So I want to save you that grief and basically tell you, don't ever do it. Now, when would you do it? So let's talk about the newborn phase. Now, if there's any health issues at all, and one common sort of little health issue with a lot of newborns is a little bit of jaundice. And jaundice makes babies really, really, really sleepy, sleepier than they normally would be. And what can happen then is that they're so sleepy, they're not waking as often as they should for their feeds. So their weight can start to drop off a little bit, but your doctor or your health nurse that checks in on you will absolutely guide you through that. So you don't need to worry, and there's no reason why anyone would miss this. It's very clear. Doctors know, nurses know if a baby has a little bit of jaundice. The good news is that within a week or two, it's gone and you can get back on track. But in those circumstances, yes, you may have to wake a sleeping baby to make sure that she's getting enough feeds throughout the day and the night. Or if there were any other health issues. I think you should listen to your doctors and pediatricians. If they're advising you to do this for the short term, then you absolutely should. But for the sake of our conversation, let's say you've got a healthy, great weight baby who's gaining perfectly, and you're wondering if you need to continue to wake him through the night. Now, most newborn babies, their sleep is not organized, and that's totally normal. They basically run on a 24-hour clock of little segments of sleep, followed by eating, followed by a little bit of awake time, a segment of sleep, feed, awake time. And this just goes on for the full 24 hours. And that's just the way it is. And that's very hard for adults because our body clocks don't look anything like that. So that's basically what's going to happen. But in that 24-hour period, there is usually a longer chunk of sleep. Sometimes it happens in the night, but often it doesn't. And it might be one nap of the day is, a 3-4 hour long nap. And that is okay. If it's only happening once in a 24-hour clock, it is okay to let a nap or a sleep go on a little bit longer than you may. And again, we're really usually very cautious about feed times, and most people like to stick to a 3-hour feed schedule. And so that makes moms a little bit, squeamish because she's sleeping a little bit past her feed. Again, if it's only happening one time in a 24-hour clock, it is okay. And that just means that she is hopefully eventually going to consolidate that little longer sleep into a full night's sleep. So it's awesome if it's happening at night, but don't panic if it's happening during the day. If you want some tips on how to encourage your newborn baby to get in line with days and nights a little bit faster, I have a podcast on that. Just go ahead and search for it, and that'll get you off to the right start with the body clock. Now, nap times. Should you ever wake up a sleeping baby for nap times? Or is there any such thing as too long for a nap? Again, the short answer is no. I don't believe that there's really anything too long for nap time. Again, as long as it's just that one time of the day. If she were sleeping 4-hour naps 2, 3, 4 times a day, again, yes, you should be waking her earlier so that she's getting enough feeds. The problem with napping too much or too long during the day means that she'll miss out on a feed or two in that daytime cycle, and then most likely try to play catch up all the way through the night. So you'll be up more often than usual in the night giving feeds or doing some cluster feeding in the early evening. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that. The only time that I would really wake up a baby is if that last nap of the day is pushing a little bit too close to your bedtime. Now, newborn babies, their schedule is going to be a little bit all over the place for the first few weeks, but I do encourage people to get on basically a 12-hour of day, 12-hour of night schedule with a newborn, and I would shoot for roughly a 9 to 9 schedule. That's going to help you get to bed shortly after baby does and help mom get as much sleep as she possibly can until the first nighttime feed. So if you're planning for a 9 o'clock bedtime and baby is sleeping, into the 7, 8 o'clock hour, this might be a time to wake baby, just so that you can keep some handle on your bedtime routine. The faster a baby's body clock gets in line with a routine and a set bedtime and a set wake-up time and set nap times, the whole process of a baby sleeping well, getting a schedule in place, getting feed times in place, it's going to make life a lot easier. So if we can hold on to this bedtime piece, then that's really going to be our best chance for success. So then, yes, I would open the door, make a little bit of environmental noise, maybe turn on the hallway light, and see if you can sort of naturally, or as naturally as possible, pull this baby to the surface and have her wake up to keep your bedtime on track. Now, in this same discussion, a lot of people talk about something called a dream feed. So I just want to take a minute or two and address that. If you don't know what a dream feed is, it's basically the idea that I would put my baby to bed at, say, 8 or 9 o'clock, and then when I'm ready to go to bed at 10 or 11 o'clock, I would sneak into his room and I would try to feed him while he's asleep. And the idea would be that I'll fill up his tummy, and that will mean he'll sleep longer, right, than he would if I didn't offer him this feed. Now, in theory, it makes sense. I get why people do it, but here's the reality. It doesn't often work. It doesn't often buy anybody any more time. And that's the hard part about it, is you think, okay, I just fed him at 10, he's going to sleep now to at least midnight, and at 11 he's awake. And that's frustrating for a lot of parents. So that's what I typically hear, that it doesn't really buy any more time. Or it works, okay? It works in mom's mind in that he does sleep until midnight, but now he's 8 months old and you're still offering a dream feed at 10, and you want to get rid of that or step out of it, but now it's a habit, right? He's used to getting some food at 10. So it does become a hard habit to break down the road when you're ready, because he's most likely, even if you didn't sneak in there to give him the feed and you tried to leave it, he will most likely wake up around then looking for food. Another problem I have with the dream feed is that we're trying, or my goal is, that babies learn to fall asleep independently, so they don't get attached to a whole bunch of extra things like feeding to sleep, bottle feeding to sleep, rocking to sleep. All of those are called sleep props. And if a baby has a sleep prop, then they usually become a poor sleeper in the sense that they wake up frequently through the night looking for their prop. Okay, so my goal is to teach a baby to fall asleep prop-free, right? So that they learn, hey, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I don't need any help. I can do this all on my own, and back to sleep I go. Now, if you're trying to discourage a prop association, but at 10 o'clock you're going in there to offer a prop, I feel like that's a mixed message, and that will be confusing to a baby, and a baby might wonder, well, sometimes I do it on my own, sometimes you help me, sometimes you sneak in here and give me my prop. It muddies the waters, and it makes a baby very confused about what skills they should actually be using. So that's my second issue with it. And the third is that first stretch of sleep, that's what consolidates into the full night of sleep. So basically, our circadian rhythm, our body clock, or a biological clock of nighttime sleep and daytime awake, that emerges as we grow. So as newborns, we don't really have a strong one yet, but by 6 weeks, by 3 months, by 6 months, and so on, it's emerging. And so the good news is that a baby should start having longer stretches of sleep. So what typically happens is that first stretch of sleep, maybe it turns into a 4 or 5 hour stretch, right? Then a feed, followed by shorter periods of sleep. And that's normal. And then maybe a month later, that 4 or 5 hour stretch has become a 6 or 7 hour stretch, followed by shorter periods after the fact. Then a few weeks later, that turns into 8 or 9 hours of sleep, followed by a few shorter segments, and so on. So you see the trend. So it's that first stretch of sleep that grows into the full night. And that's the way it's always going to go. So if you go in there at 10 and interrupt it, right? No baby could eat fully asleep. So we all have different stages of sleep. Newborn babies basically have REM sleep or deep sleep. So if you go in there while baby's in deep sleep, no human being can do anything in deep sleep. Deep sleep is deep. And so you'd have to pull yourself to the surface of sleep. So now you're in really light, maybe not even really a sleep, right? They might be dozy or sleepy, but they're not fully asleep. So now you've broken the night, you've fragmented the night, or you've pulled baby out of a cycle. So you could be not intentionally, but you could be fragmenting the night when if you let it go, it would have naturally consolidated on its own. I hope I'm making sense. So you're interfering with the development of consolidated nighttime sleep by going in there and breaking it. So I always encourage people, right from newborn on, just let it go, right? Just let them sleep, let it come naturally. The good news is that it does come naturally. So the good news is that if you've got off to a great sleep start with your little one and help them learn some independent sleep skills, and you've got the timing right, and you've created the perfect environment, and everything's been beautiful, this will just happen naturally. This is a biological necessity that can and does grow and change and evolve completely naturally. So you won't have to sneak in there, because by 6 weeks, by 8 weeks, by 10, you'll be seeing this trend towards longer and longer stretches. And that'll tell you you're on the right road, you're almost there, it's livable, right? You're getting better sleep, everything is moving in the right direction. So there was no need to interfere at all with a dream feed. So if you want some more information about how do you, step-by-step guide, teach your newborn or your baby, if you've got an older baby that's still having some struggles with nighttime wakings, then check out the Sleep Sense program. It's got basically every age range in there, and your how-to guide on getting your baby sleeping prop-free, which is the crux of the issue. They have to learn to sleep prop-free. All right, so thanks for listening today. As always, please sleep well.
Thanks so much for listening. For more great tips on helping your child sleep through the night, remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes or Stitcher, and never miss an episode.